to click the button. Boom, just like that. We're live. How are you, Derek?
Perfect. I'm good. How's it going, Jesse?
Man, I am so excited to have you on. As I say every time I begin a podcast, we had a short little conversation just a few minutes ago, and I am stoked because there is a void right now in the UTV racing in the Southeast and in the mid South, I guess you would call us. And you're here to fill the void, and I'm very excited to talk to you about it. But
Awesome.
first, man, how are you? Tell me about yourself. What are you doing today?
Man, I am getting ready for round six. Heading to that location tomorrow to kind of just get everything lined out. But it's been a challenge this year. But now that we're at round six, it's been exciting. If only I knew now what I knew at the beginning, it would be a whole different world. But just really learning as we go, and I
Yeah.
think we're really building something cool.
I think you are too. I've been keeping up with you guys for some time now, and I'm really excited to kind of delve into the details. Before we get to the race organization, I want to ask you about yourself outside the off road world. What do you do? What do you not like to do? Uh, Unrelated to all this kind of fun stuff that you're forced to do for the job.
Oh man, I mean honestly it is this is the fun stuff for me. A typical race week, I'm just out there running around on the four-wheeler, throwing up arrows, putting up banner, running around with some guys that are I call them my race crew, but I mean they're more like family than anything. We set up the whole course, just the two other guys and me in about a week. So it's
Wow.
pretty exciting. I really don't feel like it's work. I mean, it's stressful at times, kind of hitting that deadline, but
Mhm.
man, I wouldn't call it work for a second.
That's beautiful. Now, is this your main job or is this a side hustle? What do you have going on?
Yeah, so my main gig, what kind of pays the bills, is I sell recreational land kind of all over Eastern Kentucky. So I'm a real estate agent that specializes, kind of focuses on raw land, like cabins, places for people to get out, ride ATVs, side by
Mhm.
sides, dirt bikes, hunt, that kind of thing. So I used to sell houses in Lexington, wasn't about that life, moved out to Campton,
Yeah.
riding my dirt bike through the woods and just, I don't know. I mean, I live a pretty simple, exciting, fun, action-packed life. So
Yeah.
it's been fun kind of growing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's cool that you are, the main job ties into all of this. That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so I want to ask, what made you see the vacuum and want to start a race series?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I raced dirt bikes as a kid, from like started out on like a CRF 100 when I was like 10 and raced like the old course series all
Hmm.
the way up until I guess 2007. Joined the military, kind of took a 10-year break, and then got back into it last year. Got me a new KTM 350 and was driving to Indiana, every other weekend to race. And
Hmm.
was like, why am I driving 5 hours? And was talking to everybody. And I was like, what happened with the Kentucky race scene? And,
Hmm.
kind of got filled in on the series that kind of came and went since Coors and stuff. And honestly just saw the opportunity and was like talked to a few people, tried to get some other people on board and couldn't really get any momentum, so I was just like, well, here we go. Talked to the wife a little bit, didn't really get the go ahead, but still went with it.
I feel like that's how it is all the time. Like I don't believe in the like ask for forgiveness mentality. I really believe in like, hey, I'm gonna let you know up front what's gonna happen, and we'll see what happens after you respond, but it's probably gonna happen.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went down. I mean, we both I mean, she was definitely aware and everything, but we definitely didn't know how much it was going to take and what we were getting into, but
Yeah.
it's been exciting, man. I mean, the the racers, it's like family, it's just been a growing family. That's the whole thing, we're still small, so we have that family atmosphere on race day and everything. So it's been fun.
So, how many races have you had? So, just to be clear, 2020 has been your first season, right?
Yeah, yep, yes, sir.
Beautiful,
Um,
beautiful. Pulling
we've got 5 races under our belt, and I did two practice races like at my house, at my property with just friends and stuff, just working on
Mhm.
scoring, the setup, registration, just trying to get a feel for how things go before we had 200 racers come
Yeah.
out. So our first two practice rounds we had 20 people, and then our first race we had 256 racers, I think. So yeah.
Dang, dude. That's okay. So, I mean, attendance isn't an issue. That's what it seems like there with 200 racers.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that was like right when COVID was getting started, So
Yeah.
to have that, we had about just shy of 500 through the gate, and
Oh
yeah,
my god.
256 racers. So yeah, it's
Okay.
just been slowly. We kind of took a dip after that first race because we didn't
Mhm,
race again until what's that say, June 28th,
mhm,
So that was just this not really knowing what to do. But then,
mhm.
other series figured out how to race during all of this, and we kind of just copied their stuff and went back right to racing. And really, it's just been kind of slowly increasing since then. So we had our biggest race was round 5. So yeah, we're headed in the
Hey,
right direction.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I was gonna ask. That was my next question. Was how are you guys dealing with the whole COVID situation? And you guys being outside and all that kind of fun stuff. I know it eliminates a lot of the worry for most of that stuff. So that's great news. Um, so all of the races here, I'm looking at, you got a race number, a date, a name, and a location. I don't know any of these locations or any of these date or any of these names, excuse me. Um,
Yeah.
are you guys racing at off-road parks or are they like MX ATV tracks or where are you guys finding this land?
So some of the land, like a couple of the locations, were just clients of mine that I kind of picked up through the real estate career. But
Mhm,
the other ones, like Russell Creek, that's an actual off-road park down in Greensburg.
mhm,
Let's see, then we did round 3 was up at a off-road, like mostly motocross park up in Greenup, near Ashland. And
mhm.
then, Lewisburg, we were there for round 4, which is a new location. But it's really neat. It's going to be an actual off-road park with like motocross track. Like the owner's really, really awesome. His name's Cy Head, but he's super pumped about bringing all types of racing. It's about 650 acres.
Wow.
Um, but man, it's prime. I mean, it's really got a little bit of everything. So we'll be back there for our Halloween race, race 8. But
Mhm.
that one's going to be a cool one. That's the one that we will have side by sides there. So we're
Yes.
super pumped about that one.
Yes, absolutely. Um, so before we break into the side by side conversation, explain to me how does a race weekend work for a racer? What do I need to do beforehand? What do I need to do when I get there? And if I've never came and raced with you guys, can you give me like the timeline of like how the day would work and everything I need to do beforehand?
Yeah, so when we have side by sides, we'll probably race. I'm not exactly sure. This is kind of to get a feeling for how we'll do it. We could do them on Saturday or Sunday, but I mean, honestly, actually, we probably have to do them on Saturday because our Sunday race schedule is pretty much all dirt bikes and ATVs.
Okay.
So honestly, I mean, we can set up Saturdays pretty much however we want based on kind of the feedback here. But the
Ooh,
only thing we do on Saturday really is a six p.m. or I guess that day. We can probably still put a 6 p.m. pit bike race together.
yeah.
So I mean, however we decide to set it up for Saturday is kind of, there's nothing set in stone yet.
Let me just say this: if you guys have pit bike races at this thing, I have this nice spare tire carrier on my Razor that's custom built, and I'm just going to strap a pit bike to it and make sure that I'm there for the pit bike races too, because that almost sounds more fun than than racing my side by side.
Oh my
Uh,
God, dude, it's a blast. It is a
Oh my
blast.
goodness,
Our last one had 12 racers in it, and man, they just bar to bar the whole time. It's
I
epic.
love it. Now, see, okay, I have a confession here. I am not uh, a gifted like dirt bike driver, I guess would be right. But this guy in the middle is me, like starting gate. So,
That is
I
first turn.
yes. So the thing is I didn't grow up around like motorsports at all, and my friends, I think I was probably 13. They got a dirt bike. My neighbor did, and he was really familiar. And his little brother got a 50cc dirt bike. And I was
Nice.
like, okay, I'll get on the small one because my mom is was worked in insurance for 35 years, and my dad just wasn't into mechanic stuff, so we just never had these kind of toys. So I get on this thing and like I'm learning how to shift and this and that, and man, I just like loved it. And I got on the big bike. I think he had like a 125 or something. I was big for the bike at 12, and I just remember going and like slowing down and then falling over, and I like burned my leg really bad. And I just remember thinking to myself, okay, no more two wheels. And that was probably the last time I've been on something that had a motor and two wheels in a long, like I was probably 12 last time I was on one, because I'm just not gifted with it. Thank God I found razors. Thank God I
Gosh,
found UTV.
shoot, man, y'all scare me. I'm like, I just want to be on two wheels. I get scared on those things. Whew, y'all are wilder than me. I'll
It's
say
because we
that.
have, it's the old saying that, a or cage comes with the age or something like that. I don't remember what it is. But I'll tell you this, being someone who's a little more hesitant, like I really like this kind of racing. I feel the most safe when I'm in my UTV. Like when I'm suited up, neck restraints, fire suit, window nets, the whole 9 yards. I
Yeah,
feel so safe, and that allows it to go, the crazy speeds and all those other things.
I
Um,
hear you.
but all that being said, uh, so you guys primarily do most of your racing on Sunday right now, is what you were saying about the scheduling.
Yeah, I did that just because we're kind of new, and I knew that we could fit it all in on a Sunday. The
Mhm.
bigger series are definitely splitting it up and having like an AM and PM bike or AM and PM quad. So
Mhm.
our numbers just allows us to kind of fit everybody in one day. But I mean,
Mhm.
definitely as we grow, I think that it'll be something where we go to a 2 day event,
Mhm.
just because it makes more sense to not have as many people out on the track at the same time. But yeah, so now we're just trying to, on Saturdays, we're just doing more fun races, just to kind of transition into that for next year. But yeah, next year I think we'll have more side by side races and do that mostly on one of the 2 days.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I don't remember who I was talking to. I think so. The podcast actually sponsors one of the Rock Bouncer drivers for the UTV league, and I was talking to him, and I mentioned I was getting prepared for the interview, and I was talking, and I was like, "Man, I'm a little bummed that the UTV race for the series is on Halloween." Now, the only reason I say that is because I have a 7-year-old daughter who is not into UTVs, doesn't give a one care about them, and she's like just not been around loud noises and things like that. So like I'll start the razor and really like get in it, and she like gets scared and doesn't want to be on it anymore. So I have
Good
already
news. Good news.
yes.
So we're gonna have some type of trick or treating at the event.
Oh, that's
Oh,
good news. That is good news. But that was my only hesitation, and I told him I was like, it's I was like maybe maybe I can talk to Derek and I can say we'll have this big push for next year. And he kind of looked at me, he goes, "Man, with the way the season and the schedule has gone this year, if anyone's going to try something new, it's going to be this year." And I was like, "Well, that's true." And then last week, I actually got some unfortunate news for me. The November, this is all conjecture still, but the November race that I was looking at that's going to happen at Winrock, it's sounding like it's going to be canceled.
oh,
So a lot of schedules freed up. A lot of schedules are going to be wide open after that. I know that a bunch of the race leagues that the guys race in right now, they'll actually be over by Halloween as well. So it opened the door quite a bit, and that's why I got back with you, and I wanted to be a little bit more aggressive in trying to get you on the schedule here soon,
yeah,
um,
for sure.
because I really think that if we can get the word out, I think that you can probably get a few more folks there last time, or a few more folks than you had last time, because you had a really a low turnout for the UTVs for your first race with them, right?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really promote it that much, and I kind of just threw it together.
Mhm.
We had 6 or 7,
Okay.
but I mean that was probably good. You don't want to have a huge turnout your first round, so we learned a lot just having those 7 racers there on how we should set up things, how we shouldn't, kind of what they want. So it was definitely good. I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it. 7 people there just to kind of do a practice run was good for me. So.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the vehicle requirements that you guys have and some of the safety requirements?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have them all in front of me, and I don't know
Sure.
side by sides well enough, but I know that we had like, 6-point cage requirement, window nets or hand restraints, 4-point harness, I think is what we had, neck support or something of that along those lines. We ended up not doing the fire suit just because we had a
Mhm.
water truck there and the whole track was
Wow.
visible from scoring.
Yeah.
So we thought that would get a few more racers, just not having that requirement. But I think that's a big one for me. Is just that's my biggest fear in racing side by side, just getting burned up. So I think that's something that I really, really would push for. But I
Mhm.
know they're pricey. So I don't know. What's your all's thoughts on those? I know you said you wear one.
Yeah, so all of the race leagues that you find around here, Ultra Four, Pro Rock, Southern, anybody that does any kind of racing around here, it is a requirement, um,
Yeah.
and it's not a bad thing to have. And there are events around here that don't require them, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think that's the biggest deal breaker to not have, to not require fire suits. And I'm sure people are going to come after me saying that, but um, as long as you have a fire extinguisher mounted within reach of the driver, it typically turns out okay. um, I'm going to knock on wood here. I personally have never seen a, like a fire so to the point where the driver couldn't get out in time type of situation. Um,
Right.
I don't think that that's the big concern, I guess. And I could be wrong. But all that being said, I think that what you said about the cage, the window nets, harnesses, all that kind of fun stuff, I think that's very important. Um, I think the only other thing other than fire extinguisher would be like a
That.
siren and things like that. Do you guys have
Yeah.
any requirements for those?
We had the fire extinguisher one, but we didn't have like a horn or siren or anything like
Mhm.
that. I guess would that be for like passing, or what would be
Yeah,
that point? Okay.
yeah, yeah. It's basically instead of giving someone a love bump from the back, you just you let them know you're
Yeah.
back there. And a lot of, again, anyone that's racing right now has those built in. It would be just a requirement for someone new. And I actually just installed one on my car because I actually switching over to a two-seat car where I raced a one-seater last year. And it was $100 on Amazon, so it wasn't,
Yeah.
by no means
Not
a deal
bad.
breaker. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so all that being said, I think that those are good. Now, do you guys require a neck restraint? I can't remember if you said that.
I I'm not sure if we did or not. I think we had like some type of neck restraint. I don't think we allowed the roll, like
Mhm.
neck rolls. Like I think we did have like a Liat like neck restraint or like a strap in style.
Okay. Yeah, I know a lot of guys currently they use Hans devices, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you, just from my perspective, that's an expensive piece of equipment, and I've said this to a few people here recently. But when you think about what it actually does in terms of like the security for your neck, it's very
Yeah.
justifiable.
Yeah.
You want to be mad that
Exactly.
it costs so much money, but then again, you're like, well, it's doing an important job.
Right.
But that being said, Hans devices are really good. That's probably when I felt most safe was when I had my window nets up and my Hans on. It really, I mean, your head doesn't move at all. Those who haven't ever worn one, it's like you're like Frankenstein. Your neck doesn't work anymore. It's perfect. You're not going anywhere. That's the point.
Right.
Um, but probably the most important topic is course design. You mentioned, the earlier UTV race for the year. It was um, all within like sight. I know that
Uh, yeah, yeah.
well, you guys look like you run through the woods a little bit. What does a normal course look like? Does it vary, or how do you go about picking the courses currently?
Yeah, so basically for like we'll just talk about like adult courses.
Mhm.
For the bikes and quads, they're usually, 7, 8 miles of like 51, 52 inches is kind of like what everything will fit through. So it's
Mhm.
pretty tight, but that fits a four-wheeler and bike pretty easy.
Hmm.
And really, I run through with a Foreman 500 and stick up arrows, and the guys follow behind me and cut the trail.
Gotcha.
Um, so that's pretty much the setup. I mean, whenever I'm out there making the course, I'm just thinking, what's a novice rider? As long as a novice rider can make one lap in a
Hmm.
day, then it's a good course. It has some challenging stuff, but nothing so steep or challenging that every rider shouldn't be able to get through the course, for bike and ATV. Now, for the side by side, what we did is I just set up like it was right at 1 mile, and it
Hmm.
was half field kind of grass track and half like wide open wood trail. So it was still kind of tight. You know, they were rubbing trees in spots, but
Hmm.
you know, when you get out into the field sections, it was wide open. I know one guy said he hit 82, so it
Woo!
had some speed to it.
Yeah, certainly. I'd say so. And I definitely don't think that tight trails are an issue. I know that there are plenty of races that I've watched where, there is basically no area for passing. I know that that's something that a lot of times racers will vocalize is, they want more area to pass on the course and things like that. But I would say probably 30% of the current race courses, they're not wide enough through the woods, and I say not wide enough. They're not wide enough to pass. It's still an excellent race course. It's still great. There's always areas where you can make a pass, like it'll open up to a field or something like that. And um, I think what really makes it special is the short course aspect of what you guys have going on. Because and for those looking at the live stream here, I'm trying to scroll down to see where we can end up if I can get a picture of a UTV race here. But uh, not a lot of the race courses have just wide open starts and sections. Can you refresh my memory? What's it called when all the racers start side by side rather than doing like two and two off the line? There's a word for it. I learned it last weekend. I've been Crandon racing like all week, and
Yeah.
I'm like I'm big into the short course stuff right now. Everyone that listens to the podcast, there's your heads up. That's who's coming on the show next is all the Crandon people. But
I'm not
uh,
sure.
it's like a wide open start. They don't normally do that either. I think that that's really cool, where basically it's just an open field start. Um, Little details like that kind of give people a little bit of a different taste. But um, I think either way, we're just excited to find a new avenue for racing, especially in this area. And I guess what I was going to ask about the course creation is when you guys when you're out making the courses, are you trying to avoid big rock sections? Are you trying to you know you mentioned not too steep, not too technical. Is there anything that you're avoiding, or are you trying to keep the race pace quick?
Oh no, I mean, we're definitely not trying to avoid like obstacles or anything like that. You know, like when I say like we can't go into a creek and then make a 90-degree out of the creek up a bank, you know, because just that's not something a guy on a novice bike rider can do.
Okay.
Um, I'll for the side by side course that we design, it'll be a complete separate course than what the bike and quad guys are on,
Okay.
just because it'll race on Saturday and the bike and quad guys won't want to race on it afterwards. Just, you
Yeah,
know,
I can only
it
imagine.
it gets pretty shredded. So what
Yeah.
we'll do is that with our next round that has them, there's a couple really nice fire road, like
Mhm.
wooded fire roads, that we're gonna use that'll be like really good for passing, and like then we'll cut off in through some wood sections, that'll be a little bit tighter, but it's a large growth forest, so the trees are big and the little trees are small. So
Mhm.
even though we'll have our arrows there, there'll be plenty of room for sending it for passing. I mean, that won't
Okay.
be a problem.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a lot of field section too. So if I had to estimate, I'd say the track will probably be, it could be anywhere from 2 to 4 miles. But it'll be a mixture of everything. Like there's one creek that I know is there that it's wide and rocky, but I feel like y'all will definitely be going down it.
Cool. That's great news. Um, My other question would be, you said about a 2 to 4 mile loop, correct?
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking now, but I mean, it's all up for discussion, really.
How many laps do you go based on laps or a time period?
So the last race we did, we raced for an hour, and we had a short track, so they did like 19 laps, you
Whoa.
know. So
Yeah.
that puts, if you have six racers, that's not that big a deal. But if you've got 30 racers
Hmm.
or more doing that many laps, it kind of gets bottlenecked up. So that's why I would shoot for a longer course, just so it would cut down on the lap times. But
Hmm.
my thoughts doing like 45 minutes or an hour, or something. But that's all. I mean, we could do three 30-minute races, two different heats and a final. Like, I'm open for anything, whatever is going to bring the most people out and have the most fun, you know?
Yeah, I think that that would be really interesting to have, because what a racer wants to do. I interviewed last week two of the guys that doing the endurance racing right now, and the thing that they voiced, they used to do the big bounty hills and the big huge hill climbs, and they voiced doing all of this preparation for a 20 minute, you know, 20 minutes in the car basically on the weekend. And what they really enjoyed about the endurance is the more time on the course. So I think it would be cool if you did, a 3 lap, 30 minute, uh, you know, couple of those runs qualifying, get everyone squared away for the next qualifying while the other one's going on. And then you had, or you call it qualifying, but basically you're giving the driver more time on course, more
Yeah,
time racing, and that's appealing because a lot of these guys, there's guys in Alabama that'll make the drive, Tennessee, all over Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, everyone. And if you can tell them, hey, you'll do a 30-minute race, and then if you qualify well respectively, you'll have an hour race in the middle of the day. That to me, if I know I'm going to show up and race for an hour and a half, if I don't just blow my machine up, I'm
yeah,
coming. That's a great
yeah,
time.
yeah. What do you think? So, just kind of further on that subject there, have like, we could even do it like supercross, motocross, where you have like a last chance qualifier, even. So you have like a qualifying one race, qualifying two race, and then the top, however many in those two rounds, go to the main, and then the bottom, everybody else gets to race again for like a couple more spots to get to the main.
Yeah,
So
I think that'd
that
be
that
cool.
way, yeah, even if you have a bad first race, you have a second chance to get to the main event, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be really, really neat, especially, you know, depending on how those first two heats, how you chose, where people started. Maybe you did, you drew names out of a hat and ran all the evens in the front row and then all the odds in the back row and then swapped them for the heat two or something like that. Or, however you could make it happen. Because essentially, the way everything works right now for us is you do one qualifying and you get the pole, and then you start you start first the next
Well,
day.
my thought is I want to start everybody on one line.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
kind of, I mean, even if we had 30, I would set up the start to where we could dive them all into the first turn 30 deep.
so
I don't
exciting.
I know. I mean, I don't know if it's dangerous, but
It's a
it's
little
definitely
dangerous.
exciting.
Yeah, no. So, man, I'm gonna look at this. There is a little bit of danger to it, but that's really, really, really exciting. Um, no one is doing that on the East Coast. I'll say it that way. No one is starting like that, and I think that that's really cool, and also that eliminates the need for corrected time. Um,
Right.
there's a lot of issues in popular race leagues with corrected time. I
Yeah.
know that it seems like every single race, one race league in particular has, it is corrected time issues, and it delays everything, and it turns into something way out of scope and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, I think it would be awesome to have that kind of that setup. I think that's really unique. That's another draw that would be unique to this to your race league for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the locations we're at. There's definitely plenty of field to make it happen. So,
I think that's good. Do you guys do any, you mentioned MX tracks and things like that. Is there any discussion with some of this land and you guys do like, man-made jumps in any of the field sections or anything like that?
oh yeah, absolutely. We were going to do it in the last round. Just I kind of put off on it just because I didn't know.
Hmm.
Uh, I was more just leery of doing it because I
Hmm.
heard a couple people talk. You have to build them just right, and we
Yeah.
didn't have anybody there to test them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just kind of put that to the side. But yeah, I mean that's definitely something where we could have like some single rollers or something
Mhm.
like that. But whatever you all want, just let me know.
Yeah. I think that that's so. That's wonderful because there is certain parks where they have short course sections and there's some I would be really hard stretched to call them jumps now because a lot of these parks they get double dutied and for example the one that I'm thinking of Adventure Off Road Park they ran monster mud trucks through their short course and they like demolished it and all the what were big these big tabletop jumps are now just giant it's like a jump into a mud hole essentially, and
Oh,
yeah, it's just every single time I go down there, I go to the track and I'm thinking to myself, man, like this will be great, this is going to be awesome, and every single time I go down there, you have to weave and bob through 20-foot deep mud holes, so it's not the best thing in the world, but I think that would be another draw. I'm trying to think about all the different things. I mean, everything you're saying is different from what exists out there now, and that is, in my opinion, enough to draw someone in for sure.
cool.
For sure. Trying to think. So about an hour race. I think that that's a great idea for like the main heat and even those qualifying heats. That would be awesome because I'm thinking, you're going to get a group of people here that it may be his first race. He's not going to pull off the line, and be the first. But what you're going to do is you're going to just guarantee, unless his machine breaks down or something like that, you're going to guarantee him a chance to get out there and race. And um, a lot of these a lot of times that's just not the case. Some of the race courses are just so hard on these cars that you've got to dump everything you have into it just to make it to the end of the race. Attrition is the hardest part of UTV racing right
Yeah,
now because they're just throwing everything they can at them. And I have and correct me if I'm wrong. I have a feeling that attrition is always a factor, but it will be a reduced factor. Racing on the courses that you guys kind of have in mind. It'll be more focused on you know speed and keeping pace and keeping the car together in that respect, and obviously like not running into a tree rather
yeah.
than I hit a boulder at 45 miles an hour.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my goal would be to keep everybody in the race till the end. I don't want to give you anything that's going to destroy your stuff because, yeah, that's not fun for anybody.
Well,
I want something.
there's
I
a
don't
lot of
think
guys out
anyway.
there right now that do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it'll still be something that's challenging, but I think that I'll definitely keep in mind, not throwing stuff out there that unexpectedly destroys your stuff. Like
Sure.
if you go off course and you try to jump a 20-foot gap and you smash into the other side of the ravine, that's kind of off my hands at that point.
That's
But
on you.
right, right.
uh, okay. Oh man, I had something else to say. Okay, pre-running. Do you allow to pre-run the course?
So what we did last race is we did like a sight lap, and I just kind of went out and just did like a slow pace, let everybody kind of see the course, just where it was short.
Hmm.
But I don't know, I'm up in the air on how to do that in the future if it's a longer course, because
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. What are your all's thoughts on it?
I know typically what they typically have done in the past is so the race organizations primarily will do all of their racing in one day, and I like that you guys race on Sunday because it not only takes a lot of that stress off. Well, what I'm saying, let me roll it back here. I'm getting ahead of myself. I like that you guys do all UTV racing on one day and then MX racing on one day. Like you guys have got it separated where if I show up to race UTV, I can show up on one day and I don't have to stay Friday, Saturday to, kind of complete my weekend, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I
get you.
like that a lot, and I think that there's a lot of drivers right now that have issues not being able to show up for, not everybody can take Friday off work, which is
Right.
another issue that exists out there right now. If you show up on Saturday, you get to run one of the two classes, by default. You've already missed the other one, and I know that's a big issue for some guys. Um, but in terms of pre-running, what they do currently is the day before you're allowed to show up and run through the course, at whatever pace or speed you normally do. Now, obviously, that has an effect on the course quality, or not quality, but um, the course status, I guess. Like, you're going to tear the course up if you have guys running through there at speed. And I guess it would really be a decision for you. There's a lot of guys, especially the guys that are a little bit more professional. They'll show up, they'll pre-run until they can tell you, you'll take a left turn, and then in 500 feet you have a right turn. There are guys that run their programs at that granularity. However, there could be, you show up, and if you show up at 7 a.m. and the race is at 9 a.m. or something, you have, the cutoff is 8:30. Everybody's got to be off the course at 8:30, and you can only run 30, 40 miles or 30 miles an hour. There's a speed limit for pre-running. There are options there. But again, all of this is kind of coming on the fly. I haven't put much thought into that one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my first thought is to keep it kind of like XC racing with bikes and quads where nobody can ride the track until race day. So you can walk it as far as dirt bikes and ATVs, you can walk it and mountain bike it, but no machines are on the course until start time.
I
Um,
like that too, because I mean
it
that.
gives it a fair advantage, for everybody. If one guy can't get there until right before the race, but the other guys have put in 10 laps, that's not so much fair, in my opinion, to every racer, but if everybody's seeing it for the first time at the same time,
Mhm.
I think that's the most, fair for everyone. And it kind of makes it a lot more level playing field.
I would agree with you, and I think that there will be some people that disagree with that, just for the sake of. I apologize for the. I'm trying to get the dates back up here. We had somebody uh, ask us about the dates, but yeah, I dig that, because I think that it really does level it. I mean, me being a guy, and like 99% of the other people that do this, this is a hobby. I can't take off every Friday, for a race, and um, it is a huge advantage to pre-run. So
Right.
I think that that's pretty cool. If now, lay it out for me in terms of, the race is at 9 a.m. Would we all go walk it at 7:30 that morning, or how does that
Um,
structure work? I'm not familiar. I'm new to all of
yeah,
this. Let me say that.
no, you're fine. So basically, I mean, you could walk it all the way up until the start time,
Okay.
essentially, is the way it's set up. So we open the gates, we'll say whatever, like this coming event, the gates open Friday at 5 p.m. So you can bring your rigs, camp, whatever, and walk the track that day, that night, the next morning.
Hmm.
And then, our typical racing's on Sunday. So if we had a more of a full Saturday schedule, we'd probably open gates like Friday morning,
Hmm.
maybe Thursday night. I'm not really sure. Just depends how far people were traveling and what they wanted. But typically, I mean, yeah, you could walk it all the way up until start time.
Okay. I'll be honest with you. I'm liking everything I'm hearing so far. This is encouraging. My next question would be, what are entry fees? Oh, I think I lost Derek. James, they will not have side by sides at any of their events until October 31st. So that's the race that we're looking at here. Unfortunately, the KXCR, there he is. He's back. Let me add him back in.
Sorry,
Nope,
technical difficulties. My fat.
you're okay. I was just explaining that the 31st of October will be the next event that side by sides are at. And my question for you was entry fees and that process. How does that all work with you guys?
It's pretty set for the bikes and ATVs, like where we have so many more racers, the entry fees are lower, like 35 to 65 bucks.
Wow.
But I'm not really sure. I've seen some of the other entry fees for some of the other series, but I'm not really sure. how to price it. Really, I wanted to kind of chat with you all about it, kind of see what kind of pro payouts we want and that type of thing. So it's definitely up in the air.
Yeah, I don't I don't think that and again, this is my own opinion. I'll let, here's my goal for this. Let me say that. Um I am going to I'm sorry, work just sent me a thing. I needed to mute that. I'm going to show up and race because I want to try something new, and it's not as much about the payout and all that kind of fun stuff. You will definitely have all that come in. So sorry. Let me just kill this. My boss is trying to talk to me. Um,
Bosses, got to get rid of those guys.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I got to get this podcast taken off. Okay. So that being said, the race fee or the entry fees right now are $250 per race per class. And there is only two classes. There's a pro am and there's like the pro, or there's a pro and there's an amateur. But all that being said is I'm not really sure that everyone would be that concerned with big payouts or things like that, just because this is a go get your feet wet type situation where we
Yeah,
kind of want to see what it's about, what we're getting ourselves into, and kind of evolve from there. I'm not the right person to ask because this is a money sucking sport. I'm fully aware, and also I'm not always the one in contention for the winnings. So let me say it like that. So
yeah,
what I had in mind is I probably will at the end of this episode we'll kind of make I'll open my mailboxes up for everyone's suggestions and things like that, and I'll get all that sent over to you. Um,
awesome.
but what did you have in mind for entry fees and prizes and things like that?
I really hadn't put a whole bunch of thought into it. I mean, I know what we did at the last race, and it probably didn't work as well as I was hoping. I mean, we had $75 entry fee, and then that was just me not doing my own research and seeing what the other entry fees were. So I
Mhm.
know that we're definitely going to have to charge more than that for the next round. But yeah, I just really haven't really set a number on it. 250 sounds definitely reasonable to me. But it might be 200, it might be 300. I really don't know, but I know that we'll have a good payout just because I know that the guys that I just think that having a good pro payout brings a lot more people across
I
the
would agree
board,
with you.
because the amateur guys are following the pro guys, and if the pro guys are going, the amateur guys are going to show up too. So
That's
that's
true.
one thing that I feel like, you got to have a good pro payout to get the numbers there. So, yeah, I don't know. I just, it's up in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. I think you're on the right path here because I know that in some of the race leagues, the payouts used to be higher, like much, much higher than they are now. And now, it seems all across the board, UTVs are kind of getting like a little bit of the shaft in terms of payouts. So it's good to hear that you want to keep that payout high, especially on the pro side. Again, I'm an amateur, so everything that I said in regards to the payout stuff, I don't even think about. I know I'm showing up to pay my entry fee. I'm going to race, and I'm going to have a great time, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting here. So all that being said, I think that's good. There are some more suggestions, like I said, that I'll get to you after the fact. But I think that's good. One thing we did have mentioned here was a parade lap. If people could, if you had like a little pace side by side, and
Yeah,
it-
that's what I mean, that's what we did at our last round. And
okay,
I think that to me makes the most sense. Just to right before the start of the race, go out for a one just sight lap is what I called it, just so you can
mhm.
kind of know what to expect, know when, if you're going to pass, you kind of have a visual memory of like what was going on. So you kind of, it's not all up in the air. So
Yeah,
I like the parade lap, just because I get to be out in the front and kind of lead everybody around.
yeah,
But
yeah. I
yeah, I mean, I like it.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that yeah, I mean, from the racer perspective too, it's a really good, kind of shift your mindset over to what we're about to do, and I also think it kind of gives you an idea of the terrain of the car or of the course, so you know exactly what you're getting into right before it happens, and you don't have
Yeah.
to think about you don't have to think about what could have been or what changed within the last hour or two of you pre-running, or what you did yesterday, or what have you. So I think that's awesome. um, I'm trying to think. The guys listening, if y'all have any more questions, feel free to chime in. So we talked about the course, we talked about scheduling. Where do people go to sign up for events? If I have somebody that wanted to sign up today, how do they get, or they wanted to sign up today for the October 31st race, how do they get that information, and where should they go?
Yeah, so we'll have pre-entry for the race opens after the race
Okay.
prior. So race 8 entry will open up after race 7. So look for it like October 12th on the
Mhm.
website. Uh, yeah, and
Okay.
then you can always sign up at the event same day, date race of. So
Okay.
um,
Um, One more question. I'm from Nashville. Are your races, are they more in one area of Kentucky? Are they more northern Kentucky, or are they scattered pretty well across the state?
yeah, they're pretty scattered, from like our farthest west one's about for 35 minutes from Bowling Green.
Mm-hmm.
And our farthest east one is about Ashland, and then we've got several right dead in the middle of those two spots.
Pulling it up here. That's not far away from me. That's exciting. That's really
Yeah,
exciting. Because I'll tell you, I really like the idea of having a centralized race setup. I know there's a lot of guys that I mean, we've got guys that travel from New Mexico to come race in Alabama, and then the next race is in, uh, you know, northern Kentucky, and this and that. So
yeah,
it's just the span that all of these distances cover is just crazy. And I think if you can lighten that load, and everyone knows where they're going to, ballpark be, makes it a lot easier for them.
yeah.
Now, one thing I do see on here is the November 21st race that's TBD. Do you have an idea? Could there be UTVs at that race? Because that's a race I could for sure make.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a good, yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that I would be looking at based on how race 8 goes. If
Okay,
we have a killer turnout, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. If we have a dud turnout, probably won't fit it in just because, it's a lot of extra work to put another course together, to get
sure,
everything set up, have the staff ready for it on Saturday. So I
sure.
mean, really, race eight's a determinant for what the rest of next year looks like, and race 9 too.
Okay, all right.
So
Um,
pressure's on.
yeah, right. um, so let me ask you this: if in the event that the October 31st race goes off, you have some guys show up. If you were to open the pre-registration for the November 21st race, if you open it up for registration for UTV, um, and say for example, I don't know how long it takes to prepare, but 10 days before you have 15, 20 vehicles registered for UTV, would that be enough for you to go set that course up, or is there a number in mind? Would you be open to having like a question mark on a race there? And the only reason I'm pitching that is I'm not sure on the Halloween date if some people can get away, but I do know that if you November 21, 22, if you could open, if we could have a question mark there, I could definitely make the argument for some of my guys and some of the fans to be there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if we had, you said 15-20, is that what you
Mhm.
said, or ten
Yeah,
fifteen?
15, 20.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, 20 I think would be a no-brainer if we did like the 250 entry fee.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I mean, there's definitely a question mark there. I think that that's something that if you push me hard enough, like I'll be like, okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, cool. I'll put a pin in it, and I'll start doing some talking to some folks, and I'll tell you, there are folks that are going to listen to this, and they're going to come check you guys out, and we'll get the ball rolling. And I promise I'm gonna be pushing for that November 21st date, because I'd like to come race regardless of what's going on. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, we hit pretty much a little bit of everything. Kind of got your name out there. Talked about the courses. Talked about safety requirements. um, entry fees, all that kind of thing, winnings. What I'm going to do now is, if you're listening to the podcast version, my Instagram, Facebook, Racing on the Rocks, and racing on the rocks at gmail.com will be open for any suggestions or any questions that I can forward over to Derek. Derek's available as well. Where can people find, or let me ask you that before we go there. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to talk about?
No, man, I think we did a good job kind of covering definitely the basics, and I'm interested to learn more about kind of what you all want and just really dive in and see what kind of questions and how we can make this thing, you know, have it be a huge turnout. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I'm gonna hook you up with my buddy James Cantrell. I'm gonna hook you up with his phone number, or I'll get your phone number and give it to him. He's a great resource to have, and he's in the area, so
Awesome.
he's one of the guys asking questions, trying to get some information, and he
Yeah.
he's got a little bit of pull in our industry, so I'm sure he can get a couple people to show up for sure. But that being said, where can people find you on social media to stay updated and find more information on these races?
Yeah, we're pretty big on both Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, we're at KY Off Road, and Facebook, you know, we're Kentucky XC Racing. Also, our website, it stays pretty up to date with results, pictures from the events, but really most of our updates and info is going through those social media outlets.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Well, Derek, I'm super happy. I'm very excited. I'm super hopeful that everything comes through, and I'll be ringing the bell at the top of the tower to try and make this happen for you.
Awesome, Jesse. Well, I appreciate it, man. It's been awesome having me on here, and if you ever need me again or after race review would be cool. So just holler
Yeah,
at me. We'll make it
yeah.
happen.
Well, what you can do for me is hang on to the line. We'll turn the live broadcast off, and we'll hang out for a second. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right.
Appreciate it.